Hey sailors, let's kick it off into some independent reading time and really focus in on that main character. How is it that you relate to that main character? Do they make you laugh? Do you just adore everything that they do? So just what makes you hook in and relate to that main character today? All right. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying those books. We are going to get into our assignment that we started yesterday. Yesterday, we were working on a CER. This is a constructed response. In an English class, these constructed responses are generally a good paragraph, and they're kind of like a great big essay question. So right now, let's open up that chart from yesterday. So it looks like this. Hopefully yours is filled in. And on here, you may or may not have links. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. And if you don't, you will have these same things inside your Google Classroom. So here's a link right here to some student slides. These will be some help slides, so you can open those up. And then also in here, you will have the link to the story. So you'll want to have that story opened. So go ahead and get those documents up and ready to go today so we can finish out our first reading story. All right, so let's take a look at your charts. So yesterday we worked on our chart. We were answering this question in the CER format. In your opinion, is Bob a respectable guy? Is he a respectable character or not? You've got to provide two claims. So two claims. And you need to make sure you have a quote that goes with each one and then explain it. So let's take a look right here. I'm going to do mine on the side that Bob's not a respectable character. So I'm going to start off and say, you know what, Bob, you're not a respectable character. And the reason he's not a respectable character is because he's a criminal. First, Bob is a criminal. So that's my claim. Now, I have to go and find some proof that shows that Bob is a criminal. For this, I'm going to go into the text and find a place where it shows that Bob is a criminal. Well, I remember the story. Down near the end of the story, they talk about him being arrested and that Chicago is looking for him. So right here, I am going to take this quote right here, and I am going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right here. Most of you have already done that. I did notice that when I copied and pasted, it brought over some funny little background. It changed the color of my text. It made my font a little bit bigger than I'd like it to be. So I just fixed that. Now, I took it from the story, word for word. It's copied and pasted. I need to make sure that I have quotation marks surrounding my quote. And then I also need to give credit to the author. And we know from reading the story and from listening to Mr. Cheney that our author is O. Henry. So I'm going to put that right afterwards in parentheses, followed by some punctuation. So now I've got, first, Bob is a criminal. Here's my proof. You've been under arrest for 10 minutes, Silky Bob. Now I'm going to explain this. In my reasoning, I'm really going to explain how this quote shows Bob is a criminal. So this evidence proves that Bob is a wanted criminal as Chicago is looking for him. So right there, I've shown you he's really not a great character. He's a wanted criminal. I've given you my proof from the text. I've explained how my proof from the text shows that he's a criminal wanted from Chicago. And now he's under arrest. So right here, this is my first claim, my first piece of textual evidence, and my first reasoning. Notice how I have some things in here. Right here, this is a transition word. So this transition word, I'm just going to underline this so you can clearly see my transition as a phrase that this evidence proves. Right here, you can see my transition. First, Bob is a criminal. Now let's talk about textual evidence. Textual evidence can be introduced in a variety of ways. You can do simple things like, for example, but those get really boring. And so to kind of introduce your quote is a great way to do this. So if you look up here at this one, it says, Bob's commitment to his friend is shown when he proclaims. So right here, it shows, again, talking about his commitment to his friend. Here it's going to be about Bob being a criminal. Bob is wanted in Chicago and placed under arrest. You've been under arrest for 10 minutes, Silky Bob. So right here, we know that Bob is not a respectable character. Let's continue on. I need a second claim. So I have to have a second claim for why I'm saying Bob, not a great character. So yesterday we talked about this slide right here and how it gave us some different ideas. So looking right here, well, I talked about him being a criminal. I want to talk about him being violent because I know that violence has been a part of his life, and it's because of what he chooses to do. So additionally, violence continues, or violence has been a part of his lifestyle. And I know that violence has been a part of his lifestyle because it shows me back in the text when I go back in here, when it talks about him having that scar, you know that he has been into some different altercations. So I'm going to go all the way back up here, and this is where it shows it. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put it right here. And that's my textual evidence. Again, I'm going to just do a little editing to this and make sure that I get rid of some of my highlights in the background, my text colors. It made it a little too big, so I'm going to bring it down. And now I'm going to surround it with quotation marks because I copied it word for word from the text, hence textual evidence. Because this textual evidence is coming from O. Henry's story, I'm going to be sure and put O. Henry. Now, if I were reading this out of a textbook, I would also include the page number. But because it's online and I don't see any page number, I'm simply just going to put O. Henry. All right. Now, I need to talk about how is this right here, how is this quote showing my claim of violence has been a part of his life? So this shows that Bob has been a violent man, ending up with scars that are visible. All right. So again, I have some transition phrases here. I have a transition phrase of this shows. So I'm going to underline that. So if you use a transition word or phrase, you're going to underline it. If you haven't used one yet, you will need to put some in, and I'm going to show you where you can find those. And then here's my transition right here. Additionally, now I still need to introduce my textual evidence. I can't just drop a quote in there. I actually have to introduce it. So I'm taking a look right here. It says, the light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes. So right here, I want to make sure that I introduce this properly. So violence has clearly been observed when Bob strikes his match. So right there, now I have introduced my quote. I don't just drop it in there. I want to make sure that I've introduced it. Okay, so now my chart is done. Hopefully your chart is done. If it's not, take a minute and try and finish it up before we do the next step, which is putting it all together. All right, so we're going to be putting it all together. If at any point in time you need some help today during your work time, these help slides will guide you through it. They'll tell you what to do first. Answer in a complete sentence. How you do your claim. What your evidence will look like and what you need to do for your evidence. Your reasoning. How you do reasoning. And Then this is the step we're on now. Step 5, putting it together. So let's put it together. If we need to pause at any point in time, teachers feel free to pause. Otherwise, students can watch this and then work at their own pace after you've gone through this video. Okay, so it's time to put it together. So it's pretty simple. Down below, it says, using the chart above, compose a paragraph response to the question. I actually started it for you. So your job is going to be to complete it. So here's what it says. In O. Henry's After 20 Years, the character of Silky Bob is or is not deserving of the reader's respect. Well, I'm saying he is not. So I'm going to delete this part out and just have my claim in there, my answer. So notice that I have the author's name, I have the name of the story, and it's in quotation marks, and I basically restated the question. So now I'm going to go in to giving you my first claim. So my first claim is right here. First, Bob is a criminal, and I'm going to put that right here where it says first. First, Bob is a criminal. Now I'm going to give you my first piece of textual evidence, and I'm going to copy it out of the box and paste it right here. Notice yours might go on to another page. That's okay. Here's something to know. When you're copying and pasting out of boxes, if you copy the entire box like this, it will probably take the lines with it. You don't want to take the whole lines with it, so make sure it's just the text inside the box. So now I'm going to copy my first reasoning. And I've put it all together. So I can now see I have my answer to the question. I have my first claim. I have my first piece of textual evidence, followed by my first reasoning. Now I'm going to continue it. I'm going to give my second claim, and I'm going to copy it and paste it there. I'm going to take my second piece of textual evidence. I'm going to copy it and paste it here. And then I'm going to take my second piece of reasoning, my second reasoning, and I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Now, a lot of students are like, okay, I'm done. I wrote my paragraph. Not quite. You need one more thing. If you're not sure what it is, take a look at the help slides. The last thing that you are going to need is right here, a conclusion. It's just simple answer to the question, sum it up, close out your paragraph. So in conclusion, readers will find Bob to be a respectable character, or in conclusion, readers will find that Bob is not a character who is deserving of the reader's respect. So that's what I'm going to put down right now. I'm going to put down and make sure I use a transition word. In conclusion, the readers will not find Bob to be a character worthy of their respect. In conclusion is a transition word, so I am just going to underline it. Now you can clearly see where my transitions are. You can clearly see where my quotes are. But just to make it a little bit more bold, I'm actually going to highlight my quotes here. So I'm going to, you can pick whatever color you want. I'm going to pick this fun teal color. So there's my first quote. Here's my next quote. And I'm going to make sure that I have highlighted those. So now I have met all of the requirements. So let's take a look. If you're like, oh man, I can't remember all those requirements, Mrs. McCaskey, you went way too fast. Well, take a look. I have a slide that has transition words. So if you're looking for some, they're right here. Also, there's a checklist. Make sure the title of the story is in quotation marks, which it should be because I put it there. The name of the author, which it should be because I put it there. Make sure when you answer, you restate the question. Underline those transition words and highlight that evidence. Make sure your author's last name is after your textual evidence, and make sure you're explaining your quotes. And finally, add in a conclusion. Again, this will show you exactly what you need to use. So using those help slides, you can work at your own pace. And of course, you can always put on your headphones and rewatch this video. All right, guys, get it finished and then go ahead and turn it in. If you finish everything, enjoy your book.